Okay, picking up where we left off, I thought there were some focus issues that weren't actually happening. So let's go ahead and let's do an example using this formula, the midpoint formula. So here's the question. Please write this down with me. Find the midpoint of a segment with endpoints at -16 and 22. So these are going to be on a number line, okay? We're going to look at it a different way. So just as a quick sketch, so we have a number line and we go from -16, that's going to be one endpoint of the segment, so 0 is about here, up, it'll be a little further, of course, between 0 and 22, up to 22. So this is the actual segment we're looking at, and we want to know where the middle is. Well, I know there are 16 units from 0 to -16 and 22 from 0 to 22, so 0 is not the middle. I expect it to be in here somewhere. So let's just use this formula, and it simply says that we're going to add those two x coordinates together and divide by 2. All we're really doing is averaging these two numbers. So we'll take the -16 and the 22, add those, and then divide by 2. Remember, this division bar separates it. We have a numerator and a denominator. The last thing we do is divide. -16 plus 22 is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 3, which would be roughly here, 3, if that's P, if that's the point we were looking for, we didn't give it a name, but if that's P, you can see that from -16 up to +3, those are 19 apart, and from 3 up to 22, there's also a difference of 19 in that direction. So point P is exactly in the middle between -16 and 22. So the midpoint is 3. Okay. All right, let's do a different vocabulary word. We've talked about a midpoint. Let's talk about what it means to bisect something. So if you bisect something, you're going to cut it into, bi means two, into two equal parts, like bicycle has 2 wheels, 2 equal parts. So if you have a segment, it can be bisected by a point, like we saw up here in this example we just did. P bisected that segment. When we placed point P on that number line, it split that segment into 2 equal pieces. It can be bisected by a point. It could be bisected by another segment. Suppose there was a segment that passed through that point. That segment could cut this one into 2 equal pieces, excuse me. Lines and rays. I haven't really talked about a ray yet, but an example of that would just be something like this. If this is my line segment, we'll define this better in another lesson. A ray starts at an endpoint, and if this part was 4 and this part was 4, and it passed through the point like such, that split this original segment that was 8 units long into 2 equal pieces, then the ray is acting as a bisector. So is the point where it hits. Okay, so let's just do one more example here. And this time I want to do it so that the segment we're bisecting is not perfectly horizontal. It's not sitting on a number line. It's on the diagonal, and we're going to picture it more in the coordinate plane. And I just want to show you an extension of this formula. So here's a segment that has ordered pairs as endpoints. So if X is located at the ordered pair 5, 8, and Y is a little higher up on the coordinate plane, it's located at 7, 14. Okay, so this would be the coordinate plane, and here would be our origin, 0, 0, something to that effect. Let's find M, which is the bisector of x, y. Well, m's a point, and if m is going to be the bisector of this segment, then we're looking for m, and m is actually going to be the midpoint of this segment because it'll be sitting at the halfway point. Well, because m is also on this diagonal, we're actually looking for an ordered pair. So all we're going to do is we're going to find the x value just like we would if it was on a number line. So in order to find the x value, we'll look at the two x coordinates and we'll simply average those together. So we'll take the 5 plus the 7 and divide by 2. 5 plus 7 is 12, and then 12 divided by 2, we're going to get 6. So the x coordinate of that point is equal to 6. The only difference is now we have a y coordinate for each of these points as well. So in order to find y, we'll simply use that formula again and average those two y coordinates together. So the y coordinates are 8 and 14. We can add those together and divide by 2. So we end up with 22, and 22 divided by 2 gives us 11, and that's going to be our y coordinate. So m, the midpoint or bisector of that segment, is going to be located at the ordered pair 6, 11. So if you wanted a formula for what we just did, we were looking for an ordered pair. So we found the x coordinate of that ordered pair by doing that. And in order to find the y coordinate of that ordered pair, we did the same thing, except we just did it with the y coordinates. And in the end, we had an ordered pair for our midpoint. So this is still the midpoint formula. It's just for when we're in the coordinate plane.